All right, so the next lesson, lesson 13, is going to be on, we're still in this unit of algebraic expressions. I'm seeing that some people still don't know their exponent rules. So we're going to go over that. Just remember, you can always hit view all and see all the assignments posted and like your grade, like what you received. And like on mine, I see what I graded. So all these should be about 72. Some people are still missing some things. So you can always hit view all to see. 10 is like you completed it on time. Anything below 10 is it was late or you didn't make, fix corrections. And if it still says missing or it says 0, then you need to email me. Make sure you turned it in. Turn it in late for points. Okay, grades are basically kind of based on how you're completing the work that's being assigned to you. Hopefully, this 2 times a week thing is helping a lot of you. If you need an extra help session, I'm always available between, 8 and 3 o'clock. So let me know. All right, so what you're going to do for this lesson, and it's explained in the directions on the document, is you're going to take notes with me on the exponent rules on this page and a half, basically. And then you're going to send me the review questions from 1 to 10. If you want to do the challenge questions as a bonus, either to get more points or to get rid of a missing assignment, go ahead and do that. But the challenge is not mandatory, which means you don't have to do that. So your assignment is just from 1 to 10, the review questions, and submitting the notes that I'm going to talk through with you. Now, you don't need to write everything down, right? You just, you can probably just state the rule that we go over and a problem or two, and then this is your notes, right? How would you take notes if this was class? This was the PowerPoint, okay? So notes, exponential rules, you should label it. The date as well, whatever day you started, the 20th or the 21st. So exponent review, remember 2 things. You never multiply a base by its exponent. So I'm reading the first one here. The exponent tells you how many times to multiply the base by itself. For example, 4 to the third, or 4 cubed, is not 4 times 3. It is 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. And, I've realized that we all pretty much understand that aspect, which is good. So you're multiplying it to the power of. So if the base is negative, it must be in parentheses to use it when you multiply. Otherwise, your answer will always be negative. So when we do negative 3 to the fourth, you need to make sure when you, in your calculator, you do negative 3 times negative 3 times negative. You can do it 4 times, or obviously the easier version is negative 3, and then you would do the caret to the 4th power. You need to make sure it's in parentheses, and you need to remember that whenever you, you need to just make sure it's parentheses, anything that's a negative. If you square a negative, I'll give you a hint. If the exponent's even, then your answer is always going to be positive. If it's odd, so if it's negative 3 to the third, negative 3 to the fifth, negative 3 to the seventh, your answer is actually going to be odd. So that's another way to look at it. What do we got here? I don't know what the answer is. What is 3 to the 4th power? 81. I could have done that in my head. All right. Negative 3 to the 4th means that you are actually doing 3 to the 4th. So you're doing this. You're multiplying 3 4 times, and which gets us 81, but then you're actually putting the negative after. So these two are very different. Make sure when you do those practice problems that you see the difference between if it has parentheses or if it doesn't. All right, so now it's your turn, but it's our turn. We're going to do these together, and you can write these down as we go as part of like the notes you submit to me. And just make sure your notes are organized so I know like where the we do problems are and where the problems review 1 through 10. So if you make sure you label review 1 through 10 so I know those are your independent ones. But we're going to do these together. So 5 to the third is just 125. Okay, 2 over 3 to the third. And again, these are straight in the calculator type things. You can use, I don't know if you guys have a calculator at home. You can use GeoGebra. You can use any just regular calculator for these. These are just exponent rules. So any like just basic calculator you can do this for. So 2, you can take this as, if it's a fraction, you can put in the calculator, or you can take it as like 2 separate things. So 2 to the third is 8 divided by 3 to the third, which is 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. And you can leave your answer like that. Negative 6 to the third. So again, this is put it in parentheses. It's actually telling you to do so. And we get negative 216. Again, the exponent's the third, it's odd, so your answer is going to be negative, because a negative times a negative times a negative. Negative times a negative is a positive. Positive times a negative is a negative. So it's going to be negative 216. 9 to the third is 729. Negative 2 squared, again, careful, it does not have the parentheses, so we're going to get a negative 4. If it was in parentheses, you would get a positive 4. And then 1.1 to the third power is 1.331. That's what I get in my. All right. So I think we're okay with that. So let's go over what the rules are. So those are just basic like exponent like notation type of thing. So rules of exponents, again, when you're taking notes, rule number 1, rule number 2, rule number 3, make them organized when you submit. So product of powers. So basically when we're multiplying, so let's fill this in. And a lot of you know this already, but some of you are still like forgetting it. That's why we need to go over it. When multiplying exponents with the same base, meaning that these are both a, at the bottom, the big numbers a. What do we do with the exponents? We add the exponents. Okay, so basically you can write that sentence down in your notes. That will be your notes for product of powers rule number 1. So here we would write a, and then raised to the power of m plus n. So the m plus n is our exponent. And I can show you guys, I don't think I can put an equation on here. I gotta play with this. This is like Adobe. But I'll show you in this tutorial how to make an equation on Google Docs, because a lot of you keep doing it. So you can fast forward, when you're done with like listening to this at the end, I'll show you how to do it on Google Docs. Okay. So this is example before to the 6th, 3 plus 2 is to the 5th power, my bad. And then 4 to the 5th power is 1024. Okay. And we'll skip the y just because, I mean, we have multiple 4s that we multiply together. So if you were doing 4 to the third, it'd be 4 times 4 times 4. But you're still doing 4 to the second, so it's another 4 times 4. So altogether you have 5 4s that you're multiplying together. So that's kind of like the y. All right, your turn. So you simplify using exponents in your answer. So again, 3 to the second times 3 to the 5th. Add the exponents because they have the same base. So 3 to the 7th. And again, you can just, if you're writing it on your paper, use just the exponent. I don't know how to put an equation on here. Don't see where I could do it. All right, number 2, same base. So make sure they do have the same base. If they don't have the same base, you cannot add the exponents when you're multiplying. So they negative 4 and a negative 4, they're both the same. So then we have negative 4 to the 11th power. And you can simplify that if you want. I'm not going to be picky on it. Give me the whole answer. So if it's just so they both have the same base, and if it's just a 4, remember it's 4 to the first. You still have 1 4, but you're multiplying it by 4 to the 6th. So that means how many 4s you have all together? You have 4 to the 7th power, which is 16,384. Alrighty. And next one, again, all the same base. I'm not tricking you here. So you have negative 5. And let's put this in parentheses because they did that as well. Negative 5, add the exponent, so 7 plus 3 plus 2 is 12. Oops, to the 12th power. and put in your parentheses when you put in your calculator. That's a really big number. You can leave it as 5, negative 5 is 12. All right. Now rule 2, quotient of powers. Label your rule. So quotient meaning division. So when we're dividing, so the sentence for your writing is when dividing exponents with the same base, what do we do with the exponent? We subtract, okay? So this would be a to the power, raised to the power of m minus n. So also the numerator's exponent goes first. Don't just put like the biggest one first. Always numerator to denominator. Okay? So this would be 3 to the second power, right? Subtract 6 minus 4 is 2. Why do we do this? Well, we're basically saying we have we have 6 threes, but we're gonna divide them by 4 threes. So then how many groups do we have? Well, we have uh we're left with 2 groups of those threes if we divide 6 by that many. So you're subtracting those. Okay, so your turn. Sorry. Same base, they both have 6's, so the 9 minus 5 is 6 to the 4th. Same base here, put in parentheses, negative 18 to the 8th, right? 10 minus 2. Number 3, same base as 10. We're still dividing, right? They kind of switched up the signs, but we should all know that like the fraction sign is the same thing as the division sign. So this is 10 to the 4th, 8 minus 4. And then again, remember 9 is just 9 to the 1st, so this is going to be 9 to the 5 minus 1, which is to the 4th power. All right? Oops. All right, and the last rule we're going to go over, which is one I've seen a lot of mistakes on, is when you have a power of a power. So when finding the power of a power, you have to multiply the exponents. So a power to a power means you have a base of a, and it's to the mth power, and you're multiplying that whole thing. You're not multiplying. You're taking that a to the mth, and you're putting a power of n on that value. So you're raising it to another value of an exponent. So what you do with those two exponents is you're going to multiply them together. So this would be a to the power of m times n. Okay? So whenever you see something outside, that's what you're doing with that. And remember, again, they have to be the same base. If they're not the same base, then the rule doesn't apply. So that's another thing you gotta like for the first two. So for rule number 1, rule number 2, the bases have to be the same. For the power of a power, there's only one base. So if you see a power n, like the nth power, you do it to every term inside that parentheses. Okay, don't forget one term. There might be multiple inside. You have to do it to all of them. So these are pretty simple ones. For next lesson, I'm gonna like include more terms into it. Okay, like if people are still struggling. If not, then we'll just go on to something on the next lesson in this unit. So then, our example, we have just the base of 6 to the 3rd power, but it's raised to the power of 4. So what we do is 6, and then we multiply 3 times 4. So the whole answer is 6 to the 12th. All right, we'll do these together. So the base is 8. Then we multiply 4 times 3. So this is 8 to the 12th. This is going to be 15 to the 10th. Oops, sorry, multiply to the 16th. Again, we have a base of negative 4. And we have it's raised to the power of 6, but again, being raised to 2. So then 6 times 2 is raised to the 12th power. You're basically multiplying more of the negative 4s or the 8s or the 15s, whatever is like our base. And then we have 9. It's raised to the power of 15, right? 3 times 5. Okay. So your assignment, again, was to take notes on what we just did. You can write down the rules and the sentence, whatever you want to do. And then you're submitting these review questions, 1 through 10. You're submitting all of them. Again, you do have 2 days to do this. That should be plenty of time. Um, and again, if you want to do the challenge problems, you can. This can be bonus points if you have like a perfect score in this class, or I will use it to get rid of a missing grade. And just make sure you write challenge so that I know. So be very specific, because then I'm just going to have to keep emailing you and like asking you questions about this, and it's going to get annoying. All right. What I said I was going to do was show you on Google Docs how to insert a equation. That's what I'm going to do now. So let me go to a drive. Let me go to just like a random Google Doc. Let's open one up. And I'll show you, because some of you like are doing equations and I like can't really like read what you're doing just because there's no like exponent. So if you ever want to make an equation on Google Doc, you go to insert, you go down where it says equation under special characters, and you see this will pop up right here on your screen. And you can add a lot of different things. So like play around with it. These are like Greek letters. We haven't really done anything like that. If you want to put an operation, there's symbols here. If you want to put an inequality, greater than, less than, they're here. Equal sign, that's some of that stuff's on the keyboard already. If you want to put a fraction, if you want to do a square root, so we were doing square roots. So if we want to do an exponent, here's an exponent. So you would hit x to the b, and let's say it's 3x to the, so I would hit shift and the caret button, which is shift 6. And then I can put to the third power or whatever. So what I did for that one, I hit insert, and I found the word equation, and then the thingy popped up with all the symbols. I click, I think it was the fourth equation symbol option. And then if I wanted to do 3x to the third, which I just wrote, I hit 3, and then I hit shift caret button, which is number 6 on like my keyboard, so I'm assuming it's for everyone, obviously. And then you would just write out, what your exponent is, so it should raise it for you. If you try to do it like on your own, like 3x to the power, it's not going to fix it for you. It's going to be like that, and that's fine if you do that. I can read that, but when we start doing like a lot of these, like it just gets messy. Like this is what I see from some of you. I'm like, oh my god, what does that say? So again, this is, and then we can even go back. You can always hit new equation now since it's popped up for you. And like when we were doing, there's parentheses, you can put a fraction. So 1, and I move my arrow. 1 over, and then you might be able to hit like the bottom on your screen. 1 over 2, there we go. Like there's a fraction, and new equation, radical, right? 64x. So this is how I make the worksheets too. So it's a good skill for you guys to know. If you do have questions on it, let me know. But yeah, email me if you have any questions. I'm online. If you want to just check in, you want to see my face, let me know.